Let's start with Mr. Clinton. He says that he cut off contact with Mr. Epstein years ago and only flew on his plane 4 times. That's his official response. However, that does not reconcile with the flight logs collected by both the Daily Beast and Gawker that shows that Mr. Clinton was on 26 international flights and 1 domestic flight between Miami and New York. What gives? Now, like Mr. Clinton, Mr. Trump is also saying today that he cut off all ties with Mr. Epstein and even added today in an interview with Fox News that he wasn't a fan of Mr. Epstein. But in fact, when asked to vouch for Mr. Epstein in an article for New York Magazine, and this is back in 2002, Mr. Trump said, and we quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
I mean, this media bias is crazy, right? So they're always talking about his ties to Donald Trump. Occasionally, they'll throw in people like Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, and Bill Clinton. But here's an example, and I put all the sources below. And I quote, they're talking about Epstein, of course, quote, "A high-powered hedge fund manager with connections to powerful figures like former President Bill Clinton, President Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and lawyer Alan Dershowitz. Epstein had an extensive library of political connections. Clinton flew several times in Epstein's private plane, and President Trump also frequently hosted Epstein at Mar-a-Lago, his estate in Palm Beach." Okay, so let's just sort of break this out a little bit. Okay. Clinton did not just fly several times in Epstein's private plane. There's 26 at least, some of which were without his Secret Service guard, right? As an ex-president, Clinton is allowed, or I guess is encouraged to have Secret Service protection for the rest of his life on the taxpayer's dime, and he ditched his handlers and his minders and potential witnesses to go on this plane 26 times at least. And President Trump never flew a plane to what was colloquially referred to as Epstein's pedo island. And President Trump frequently hosted Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. Yes, that's right. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people visited Mar-a-Lago. It was a club. So what does it mean he hosted Epstein? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. If I buy a gym membership and I go to the gym, does that mean they're hosting me and have some big personal connection? Well, of course, that's nonsense. And of course, what is not mentioned is what has been reported, that Epstein, with varying degrees of aggressiveness, according to some reports, propositioned the underage daughter of a member of the club at Mar-a-Lago, at which point President Trump banned him for life from his clubs. That is not exactly enabling. Now, of course, so there's a quote that Trump had back, I think, in 2002. He said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." All right. So you understand what life is like when you're rich and powerful. When you're rich and powerful, people like to sue you, right? I mean, there are countless. Well, the number is massive. There's well over 1 million lawsuits filed in America, the vast majority of them against rich people. That's like every year. And so you can't say he likes underage girls, right? He's going to sue you, right? And so he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's positive, blah, blah, blah." And many of them are on the younger side. Well, that's, to me, I interpret that as a way of warning people about this guy's preferences without ending up getting sued. Now, the media is quoting this as if they had some close relationship. Yeah, there's people I've known for a long time that I don't have close relationships with. You know, I when I was an entrepreneur, I still do have an accountant, and nice guy, but, we're not twins, so to speak, right? So you can know people for a long time socially without knowing them in any great or particular detail. But when Trump is talking like this, in my view, this is what he's doing. Trump's ties to Epstein appear to be strictly social. There were some dinner parties, 2 plane trips, and a meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. So 15 years. This is supposed to be their big, close friendships. Some dinner parties. Now, if you've been to high-octane dinner parties, well, what happens is there are like 15, 20, 25, 30 people there. You often don't have control over the guest list unless it's your particular party. So you show up at some party and there's some other guy, could be at the other end of the table. You might exchange nothing other than pleasantries and how's the weather been for you and how's your golf swing lately over the course of the entire evening. 2 plane trips. I've read of one. Maybe there's another one. And this one was, I believe, from Florida to New York. He hitched a ride on the smaller plane, which wasn't going to this pedo island or anything like that. This is Trump. So, some social stuff. They didn't do business together as far as I can see. They didn't take vacations together. They didn't golf together, anything like that. And, of course, Trump is on record talking about how Epstein's going to have trouble with this island of his.
Island. Remember the island.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Now, regarding this imaginary connection between Epstein and Trump, here's a quote. Opposition research firm Fusion GPS tried and failed to find evidence of a close relationship between then-candidate Donald Trump and billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. Couldn't do it. Couldn't find, this is Oppo Research Fusion GPS, who, was instrumental in helping to try and fail to tie Trump to all of this Russian collusion, conspiracy theory, and so on. In January 2016, Vice.com ran a story on Trump's ties to Epstein, which framed them as more social. These are the dinner parties, 2 plane trips, and Epstein hanging out at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. As Radar reported last April, and I quote, according to an investigation by Radar, Trump was among dozens of renowned New Yorkers who knew Epstein socially but ostracized him after Palm Beach police uncovered the financier's sleazy double life.
I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan. I was not, a long time ago. I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his. So